Oh, so glad to be back, y'all. Like, it seems like it's been forever since I've been here with y'all. So it is great to be back. Welcome to everyone here at that are viewing us here. We're shaking up the algorithms. If you're not catching us live, make sure you catch the replay. This is going to be an awesome, and I mean awesome, show tonight. There is so much information that I have been trying to put together to make sure that this show is a success. And I just wanted to say, of course, as always, I'm definitely going to be coming from a personal perspective. So make sure you keep that in mind. I'm not a professional in any way, shape, or form, but I feel as if I have gained a lot of wisdom and knowledge from being able to go through certain situations in which I could be able to help you all as well. So, with that being said, I am about to bring up our guest. This gentleman has been on here before. I'm going to let him kind of give you the whole spill about himself, but he is like family now. He's not he's just not anybody anymore. He's a regular. So let's bring up Chad Nails. Come on up, Chad.
What's going on, Miss J? How are you? Yes,
How are
you're
you?
absolutely right. We are definitely family now. It didn't
Yeah,
take long. It didn't take long either.
it didn't. It didn't. It really didn't. So I'm just glad once again that you were able to come back on the show. We're definitely going to continue to dive deep a little bit into the topic that we started with,
Sure.
but a different spin this time.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
just for everyone that is watching, the topic of the show this evening is helping you is hurting me. How to break free or breaking free from toxic connections. And previously, when we had Chad on the show, we were basically talking about narcissism and the different signs of narcissism. So, as I was explaining to Chad earlier, you know, oftentimes we use that term narcissism really loosely, but there are certain levels to it, you know. Um, a lot of people can have narcissistic traits, but very few may actually have the disorder, right? And that's
That's
two
right.
different
That's right.
things. Um, but what I wanted to kind of focus on this evening as well is outside of narcissism, there are some toxic people that we run across. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be in intimate relationships, it could
Not
be
at
in
all.
friendships, it could
Yes.
be in work relationships. Just the connection.
Family members.
Exactly, exactly. Definitely family members. I got a few. So, uh, but we encounter different toxic connections in so many different aspects.
That's
So
right.
I wanted to really focus on that this evening to be able to help some people that may have encountered that or may be actually dealing with that at the moment. And of course, you're going to get a personal perspective from me, but you're also going to get the best of both worlds from Chad because he's going to give you personal and professional. So, Chad, let me go ahead and give you the floor so that you can also let the people know professionally where you are and where you stand. So go
Not a
right ahead.
problem. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So for anybody who does not know, my name is Chad Nails. I'm a certified life coach. That's what those letters are behind my name.
Oh,
I'm a certified life and relationship coach. Also certified in psychoanalysis, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro linguistic programming, negotiations, public speaking, general psychology, and a few other things that I probably don't remember right now, but it's enough for me to say I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And like you said, while I am here as speaking from both my personal and professional expertise, let nothing that I say be taken as an official diagnosis of anything. This is two people who have a shared experience who are speaking on something that may or may not affect you in a few
mhm.
different ways. So that's about as much of an introduction as I can give. Right. So,
That works. That works for me.
okay.
Now, with that being said, I have another guest, an impromptu, and he's not even a guest either. He's family to me. Come on up here, Fred. So glad you could be here. Hold on, let me get you up here. Hey, hey, hey. So glad you could
Hey yo,
the last minute, I'm telling you, you like the big brother in the wings. Thank you so much.
hey yo, what's going on? How y'all doing?
What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Great. We
Hey,
are great.
another day above ground, my man.
That works.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
Exactly. So as I was saying, Fred, we are, speaking on the topic this evening of helping you is hurting me and how to break free from toxic connection. So first,
Ooh-wee.
what I'm going to do, I know, right? Deep, deep. So, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a clip. Now, I wanted to kind of break it up because it's so meaty, right? But I'm gonna just let it rip and I'm gonna just play the whole thing. So bear with me for just a moment while I pull that up.
All right.
When you break up with the person but don't break up with the pattern, eventually you'll end up entertaining the exact same person just with a different name. Same narcissist, different name. Same manipulator, different name. In fact, oftentimes what we label as we just clicked is really they just fit. They just fit in a pattern that existed before their arrival. I'm simply attempting to propose this question. Could the lack of pattern awareness be the role that we're playing in our own suffering? The genesis of change is the awareness and reconstruction of patterns. Changing patterns can lower the propensity of being deceived. Like I had a prayer life pattern before the offer was ever offered. And sometimes church people always try to spiritualize it. This is the devil, or I'm going through warfare. Okay, I hear you, but hear me. Could it be you're not under attack, you're under a pattern? Because oftentimes the shadow of a problem is a pattern. Like overthinking problem, misuse of creativity pattern. Because that's what overthinking is. It's a misuse of your creative self. Look how creative you are, creating hurtful scenarios in your head and preparing for it. Substance abuse problem, a pattern of taking temporary and false escapes. What makes our problems buff is the ignorance of a pattern. Maybe you're not under attack, you're under a pattern.
Look here. Look here. When I heard that, I was
Okay.
like, yo, I could not, I couldn't fathom why I never thought of that. Like it just put me in a whole different tailspin, you know. And go ahead, Chad. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you
I,
chime in.
I don't even know what to say. I was about to say we can stop the show right there. Like it has been explained, but he's absolutely right. That is a major part of it, and even to piggyback off of that and expound on it just a little bit, it's not even just the pattern of the person who's being afflicted. It's a pattern of the person doing the afflicting.
Ooh.
So when you're not for the person who's, I'll start with the afflicted person first. He's absolutely right. When you're not aware of what it is that you are doing that contributes to the environment for that person to come in, you're shaping the hole that they fit in when you don't address it. When you're not aware of it, and even sometimes if you're aware of it but don't do anything to process that out, because he spoke about two things. He spoke about awareness, and then he
Yeah,
spoke about it, and then he spoke about actionable items that you can use.
correct.
So when we're talking about the afflicted person, you are either consciously or unconsciously, you are shaping the environment that allows for certain people to fit in those holes, so to speak.
Mm.
And then for the person who's doing the afflicting, because remember I was saying to you earlier, it's not always so much that you are attracting. There are some who are aware of what to look for. So you're
Mm.
not just attracting, you're being hunted in some
Ooh,
cases.
ooh.
All right. And then for those who are unaware, for those who are doing the afflicting but are unaware, they'll simply see that click. And I love how he said that click and made me think about Lego bricks. right? How you can fit certain Lego bricks in night, and you're probably going to hear me say it more than a few times, is if you don't know yourself well enough, you will fall for it. You'll fall for anything.
Ooh.
Part of that, and I'm gonna tie that into what Fred just said. If you don't even understand which methods of information gathering work for you, it'll just be shot in the dark. Oh, this that, and you'll be and that leaves you that more often than not in the lurch when it comes to it. Why? Because you're not focused. You don't even know how you best gather information. So how are you going to streamline it? How are you going to make it efficient to where you are collecting it exactly the way that you need to? You're able to prioritize the information. You're able to organize it. I love that he used the word dossier, because that's an organized mass of information. Where you've been seen, what you've been doing, how you talk, who you talk to, your what is it for your conflict resolution? What's your work ethic? How do you deal with family? How do you deal with friends? How do you deal with foes? How do you deal with coworkers? How do you relate to your children? What have you learned from your childhood? And the list goes on and on and on, and you can pick up on that.
So if you're not reviewing new data, or if you're not reviewing updated data, then how do you know what your intel process is? Is it refined enough for you to make a clear and concise conclusion based upon the facts that you've gathered? Or are you just, like you said, Chad, or you may just shooting a shot in the dark and hoping it's the right thing?
Yeah.
Shots in the dark are deadly, because especially if you miss the target.
Yeah. Hold on. Well, Chris says here, he said, my advice, remain a good person and not a nice person. Nice people allow themselves to be abused, and a good person sets boundaries. Have a standard and make sure people meet those standards. If they don't, it's okay to move around and dismiss them from your environment. We're too old and mature to keep allowing foolishness in our space. Love it. Love it.
I read that. I read that, and I was like, okay, Mr. Hanson, you done touched on my playbook for 2024, because that's been a new thing that I've been saying for myself. Like, I'm not a nice person. I am a kind man. I'm not a nice one. And there is a world of difference. I know a lot of people make it synonymous. It's actually not. It's actually not. Nice is episodic. Being kind is systemic.
Very much so. Very much so.
Oh, can I steal that?
Go ahead.
Go. Absolutely. Nice is episodic. I'm gonna say it again for you. Nice is episodic, but being kind is systemic.
Oh yeah.
And truly, neither one of them should allow for it. Nice makes room for you being a doormat. Kindness does not.
True. Now, with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back and continue with this good chat that we got going on, because it's some deep stuff and we're just scratching the surface, y'all. So let's get let's see some of our sponsors for this week, and bear with me for just a moment. Tantalizing Talks, the podcast, hosted by the love coach, Tosh Johnson. Our focus is on your communication, love language, self-discovery, self-care, sensuality, and sexuality. Helping you to find yourself while embracing change. Sit back and be enlightened by the love coach here on Tantalizing Talks, the podcast. All right. So that is the end of our commercial segment for this part of the show. So we are going to jump back into our conversation. And we were talking about how, hold on, let me get back to my notes here. Nice is episodic, but kindness is systemic. That is like the quote of the day. Okay, y'all. Make sure you keep that in your notes. Refer to that because that is going to fuel you when you find yourself in these situations and you're dealing with people that are toxic to your spirit. It is a must. It is definitely a must. So with that now too, we're gonna kind of dive in a little bit deeper. Because wait a minute. Uh, oh, okay. We got some more comments here. LHG
Good,
was saying,
good stuff.
I know. She even mentioned, do you even know your own love language? And that's pretty deep because a lot of people don't. She also mentioned that internal emotional intelligence and social emotional intelligence. We need both. I need to be in tune to my own emotions and how I fit into the world. And I think that's something that we lose sight of as well. Our own emotional balance, our own emotional wellness hangs in the balance. And that goes back to what you were saying, because when we're not stable, we become a targeted prey.
We can be, yes.
You know, so now where it seems like we're attracting these people, no, we've just become an open target. And it's it's open season for us.
It can certainly be that way. I think what they're saying, I think what everybody's saying in the comment section is definitely in lockstep with what we're talking about here. What Critical Conversations and Brother Henson and Trailblazers was saying as far as the self-awareness, and it really it does start with that, the self-awareness, having an understanding, having your own roadmap, and understanding how you move, how you function, how you how you want to live, how it is that you want to love, how you want to work, how you want to think, and not even just want to. Let me take it even a step back. How you are designed to do these things, because you could want to do them all you want, but if it's not part of your inherent design, you could push for it. That's why there's what's that scripture that says everything is permissible but not everything's beneficial. You can push to be whatever it is that you want to be, but is what you're pushing for, does it fit you? Does it truly fit you?
Right.
All right, so understanding your emotional intelligence, understanding your social emotional intelligence, understanding your internal emotional intelligence, and a myriad of other aspects about yourself that contributes to your design, what it is that you naturally move out of. And your experiences are designed to, or ideally your experiences are designed to showcase and reveal those things in you. It's not that you get who you are from the experiences bring who you are to the surface.
That's so true. That is so true. That is so true. And that goes into this comment also. Cache says, thank you so much, Cache, for being on the show. And she mentioned love language is often rooted in what we didn't get as children. So as we evolve and get to know ourselves beyond and above our conditioning, we may find our love languages to vary.
I think that's true. I think that's half true. I think love languages, so what she's saying is absolutely true. The other part of where love languages, I believe love languages comes from, it either comes from a deficit where, like she's saying, you either don't get what it is that you need, and then that becomes enhanced as you grow, or it comes from what you did get that absolutely does work for you, and to cultivate it further.
Twofold. Okay.
It really can be, which is why some of them change, and some of them don't.
Right. Right. Wow. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I
Mm.
mean, that kind of goes back to the video as well when he was talking about how when we meet certain people, it's like, oh, we just click. It's like the repetitive pattern that we're continually, evolving in because we haven't made the connection as to how to stop that
Hmm.
or to how to stop it, basically. So in that aspect though, and like I said, it goes far deeper than just encountering someone that is a quote unquote narcissist or someone that has toxic traits.
Hmm.
It really boils down to how you view yourself, how you feel about
It's
yourself.
true.
um, how do you feel that you measure up to having a spouse or a companion or a comrade or a colleague? How do you feel about yourself? What is your level of value? Because that ultimately determines how they're going to treat you.
It's very true.
And I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that certain people have had to experience the negative side of it. But I feel like now looking back, all of that was like stepping stones to helping me to evolve into the woman I'm supposed to be
Hmm.
and to come full circle to the mindset that I'm supposed to have, the healthy mindset. So it's almost like you got to kind of be thrown in the fire a little bit, in order to get it. Some people get it sooner than others. Some of us
Sometimes.
are just gluttons for punishment. I was a glutton for punishment.
I think we
But
all have been at some point.
until we realized what needed to change, I would say I would agree.
True.
Until we realized what we needed to do to change, I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all done that at some point in time. Some
Yeah,
of us go back to the same well and wondering why we drinking dirty water.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
That is
If
so true.
you still drinking dirty water, you might want to find out what's in the well.
Right.
And if it
Most
and if it's you, then you might want to change that.
most definitely.
I mean,
Definitely.
something that LSG said earlier in a comment about, where we fit in the world.
Hmm.
I can narrow that down a little bit too. And where do we fit in our own little pocket universe? Where do
Yeah.
we fit in our own little universe? It's
Yeah,
and it's also about who we allow in our orbit,
Right.
who we're gonna put up, who we're gonna allow to orbit us, or who we're gonna allow to be around us. Having the right people can bolster someone to an extreme degree, but also having the wrong people around can also bring somebody down to the same degree, if not worse.
True.
it can.
Oh,
You're
true.
absolutely right. This all I feel like this all still pushes back towards the whole really towards the whole self-awareness thing. Like if you know you're a nerd by social standards, be okay with being a nerd. Be okay. You
Yeah.
like to read, be okay with liking to read. You wanna like running 5 miles every day, be okay with that. You
Mhm.
50 years old and you still play video games, be okay with that.
That will be me.
Okay. But like whatever as long as it is not harming you and it's not harming anybody else,
Mhm.
you should and I'm speaking ideally, you should be okay. All right.
Right.
Since we're talking about toxicity, that's anything. Toxicity is anything that goes against your natural state. Whether either by intensity, meaning too much of a good thing, or just a flat out bad thing. Like it just ain't good. Like water is good for us, but too much water can kill us. If we
Mm.
drink too much water, it can actually kill us.
Yep. That's true.
But water's supposed to be a life-giving agent. But you put it in the wrong frequency or the wrong level of intensity to our state, and we're out of here. I always like to use because I'm a geek, because I'm a nerd, and I like using chemistry references. Look at one of the essential things that we need in our body: salt. Salt is made of what is that? Sodium chloride, right? So sodium and chlorine. Sodium and chlorine by themselves are actually deadly to us, but in the right balance, and they become a building block of what keeps us going.
Yep.
All right, as in nature, so as in human nature. All right, and that means understanding that first. That means understanding, what like I said, what your design is, and then understanding what makes your design work, and whatever's toxic is what's either counter or overbearing to that. Right? If you need a lot of attention, don't date somebody who doesn't call and text. Don't have friends who don't call and text if you need attention. Don't do that. If you need to be if you're somebody who's naturally more of a loner, don't have people around you who do call and text all the time.
Right.
It's gonna bug you.
Yep.
All right. I like having people who are naturally consistent around me. I have a friend that I have at a distance, and I'm using that. I'm definitely using that properly. I have a friend that I have at a distance who is not very consistent. He's flaky. He says he's going to be somewhere, he doesn't show up.
Right.
You think he's not going to pop up, then he shows up. Shows up unannounced. And for some of my friends who are my friends who have known me for more than a few hours, they know who I'm talking about. But I'm not naming any names. But still love him. Still love him. Don't hate him. I don't like that he does what he does sometimes. So what do? Instead of getting all bitter and resentful and this, that, and third, because then that's taking my energy down and that's counter to my design. Because I like being up here. I'm designed to be up here. So what I do, I love him from a distance.
Yeah.
I love him from a distance. Sometimes it's not about loving or hating. It's about where you place them at in relation to where you are. Some people you can encounter them and be like, I don't ever want to talk to you again. Respectfully.
Right.
And you have to be okay with that. And they may want to be close, but they don't see what you see because you have an understanding of how you work and how you function and how you interact with people. And despite and your light, when you have that, your light draws all manner of people. Let me touch on that. Your light, when you reach a level of personal mastery and you are able to consistently shine on a certain level, you attract all types of people. And that's actually part of our tests for those of us who have reached levels like that. It's part of our test because then we have to be able to discern where you go. All right. You might not be aware of where you go, but me being where I am, I have to be able to look at you soberly and say, based off of where you are right now, you can't be part of my inner circle. Maybe you can be on outer circle, or you can't even be part of that. It was nice knowing you. I just I mean, it is what I've learned. It's what I've got. It's part of my philosophy. It's part of my personal and my professional philosophy as a coach and counselor. And this is what I help share with people, dealing with people who are in relationships, and they're like, "Well, we have these problems," and I'm like, "Okay, I have to walk you down to the root, because right now y'all are just saying, well, he's doing this and she's doing that and this and third," and I'm like, why? Have you asked why? Have you taken the time to really investigate and be circumspectful and to investigate yourselves? What is it that you're encountering? What is it that you're encountering? Why do you think that they're encountering it? And then does the other person even know why they're doing it?
Right.
And this is talking about patterns that we gather from our past. Somebody talked about what we gathered from our childhood. I cannot speak enough on how crucial it is for you to go back and parent yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
Say that.
I'm about to fall out off of myself. I'm sorry.
Say that. Okay. So before we say anything else, we're gonna do another commercial break because
Yeah, I need a break. I need a break. Go ahead. Go ahead.
heavy. It's getting heavy. It's getting heavy. So let's go ahead and take that commercial break, and then we're gonna get back to this.
Firebrand Studios 801 presents self-awareness, healing, coping, breakthrough, taking back your God-given power. Slayer's Redemption Chronicles personified from bondage to breakthrough. Hosted by Prolific Ted, where we come to heal or die trying. Get ready. We're coming to you live. Join us April 24th at 7 p.m. Central. Find us on our social media page.
Living the moment, catching the vibes, conversations with CC. Inspiring people, breaking the boundaries, showing the simple. If you did a dream big, if you did a dream big, I just wanna teach you, making your lives amazing. Conversations with CC.
Okay, so first and foremost, again, I want to thank all of our sponsors this week. But I want to give a little shout out to myself, a little pat on the back, right? Because little do you all know, not only am I the face of shaking up the algorithms, but I am also the mastermind behind all of these commercial trailers. Like, I did them all. And that voice, that's my voice. So all
Bravo.
that's me too. Hey, I'm just multi-talented, I guess you could say. I'm just multi-talented.
As multi-talented as you should say. Yes.
But with that being said, if there is anyone that is in need of any type of business service where you need to promote your business or your brand, please reach out to us here at Shaking Up the Algorithms. You can do so on our YouTube page, or you can go to our email at twin force productions PROD at gmail.com, and I will be able to assist you and give you our price list. And if you'd like to be a sponsor and have your trailer or your ad displayed on our show, we will happily do that for you as well. So now let's get back into the convo, okay? Because we had hit a major mark. Okay. I need a little sound system for some drums or something. You know, we hit a really major mark. And with that too, I know Fred, you were getting ready to say something. So I'm gonna open up the floor for you to go ahead and speak on that.
Nah, I didn't really want to say no. I mean, one of the things that I think we ought to be aware of, and I think we some of us are, but some of us aren't, and we may be slightly aware of it. I mean, we all want to be around like-minded people. We all want to have those people in our circle or in our orbit, and that ain't always a possibility. That's like a 50-50 chance of that, and we have to be aware that we're gonna attract both types of people, like-minded and folks that are not like-minded. I believe we need both of those type of people for us to grow in our lives. We got to have people that's going to be our cheer corner. And we're also going to need people that's going to be, hey, look, no, that ain't right. Do it again.
Oh,
and
God, Fred,
if we don't have those type of people, like it's got to be a healthy balance. It's got to be a healthy balance. And when that balance is off, we tend to be and I can say this from complete honesty and transparency. When that balance is off, we tend to veer towards the one that has that has the that looks the most, that has the most in it. And for me, it was more the people that were not like-minded.
Right.
And some of those people were some now is out of the not like-minded people, it was a healthy, it was a mix of people that were cool with correcting me and things of that nature. Then those people that was egging on the negative behaviors, the self-destructive behaviors.
Mhm.
And we have to be able to identify those people. If
Absolutely.
you're always telling me, hey, here's a drink, go ahead and turn that up, but not telling me when I get to the point to where I'm about to pass out, that's not good.
No.
Right.
So we got to have that balance of both like-minded and not like-minded people. They both serve a purpose. It's up to us to determine what purpose they serve.
I'm sitting here geeking out. Or first of all, that's because of how on point you are with that, and that made me think about probably one of the most underrated movies I think I've ever seen, which was Lucy. I think it came out back in 2016. It's Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman. And there's a line from that absolutely falls in line with that. It says, when a cell encounters a favorable environment, it chooses reproduction. So when we're around like-minded people, we're able to, the relation is just cool. You're saying this, I'm saying this, you're saying this, I'm saying this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a healthy back and forth, right? Because we're designed to be able to relate to each other, right? On some way, shape, or form, whether for good or ill, like you were saying, Fred. He also said when a cell encounters an environment that is unfavorable, it chooses immortality, in which case it chooses to insulate itself. All right. So one has us operating as participants, the other one has us operating as observers, where we understand what's happening around us, but we don't necessarily allow. When somebody said it, as far as standards and limited access,
Yeah.
that was I know somebody said it.
That was LHG. Yeah, she said
LSG.
healthy boundaries, limited access.
Standards and having limited access. When we encounter unfavorable instances, ideally we have to become observers, where it's like, okay, I see you. I'm not necessarily connecting to you because due to my nature, and due to what I see is your nature, it doesn't mix. So there's a level of intention that goes into it. There we have to be truly sentient. What's the word I almost want to say? We have to be metacognitive about it, which is just a fancy word of saying we have to think about what we're thinking about in terms of how we're dealing with both ourselves and other people.
Right.
You got to cross. We have to cross-examine stuff and then be able to make healthy, life-giving, and in some cases protective measures for ourselves based on what we find in our environment. All right. That is one way to safeguard ourselves against toxicity. And then for those of us who already find ourselves in toxic environments, that is one way to insulate and protect ourselves within that environment until such time as we're able to find a way to remove ourselves from it entirely.
Okay.
Exit strategy is important.
Oh, is it?
Exit strategy is important. What's your strategy if you find yourself in a hostile or unsafe environment? Are you going to have one, or are you going to improvise one? In most cases, some of us improvise because
we haven't taken time to plan one out. Yeah.
And most times when we're in a hostile environment, sometimes that environment is something that's not of our own making or control.
True.
Right.
And then we look at like, well, why am I in this environment, and why is all hell breaking loose around me? I got to get the hell out of here. And then we come up with an exit strategy. But by then it's too late. You're already engaged.
Yeah. That's what that takes what I call sober assessment. And it has to be preemptive. Yes, you can do it in the moment, but it works better when it's preemptive.
Yeah.
All right. Sober assessment. That means you almost mentally putting yourself in a scenario or circumstance and saying to yourself, okay, how would I work out of this? Would I even find myself would I even make choices that would put me near a situation like this?
Mhm.
And if you can say no to that, then you're able to derive necessary information for yourself and say, okay, I'm not even going to go there. If I know there's a certain part of town and I know that there's a likelihood of people shooting, I'm not going to go to that part of town. I don't
Right.
care if they got the best ribs and burgers and so on and so forth. And that usually happens in the bad part of town. They
It
usually have,
does. It
they
does.
usually have the
Yep.
best, but they usually have the best food. But if
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
if I know that that's a likelihood, and I definitely don't want to be shot, I'm going to Instacart that over. I'm not going to
Oh
get it.
yeah.
I'm not
Uber
going to.
Eats that
I'm not going
thing.
to go get it. And praise the Lord for technology, how we have it now. We don't have to go into situations just to get something that we need out of it. We can order the hell out of it.
That's true.
Mhm.
That is
All
true.
right. So, and that's just
One-
one example. That's just one example of you remaining. You are the cell. You see that it is a non-favorable situation. So, what do you choose? You choose to insulate yourself.
Right.
Mhm. I think one of the things it just came to my mind here, and a lot of people will probably disagree with this. We have to, and I'm kind of applying this to my own life too. I'm learning that I have this emotional and mental IFF up now.
Hmm.
And for those who don't know what IFF is, it's a term that calls it means identify friend or foe. It's common on it's common on combat aircraft. So
Hmm.
basically what happens is it sends out a little wave of energy and it identifies the aircraft as either friend or foe based on the configuration of the aircraft and also based on what's in the database or what's in the database at that time. I'm finding that I'm having to have not having to have, but developing a emotional and a mental IFF on me now.
I like that.
So, and it's not identify friend or foe. It's just identify if someone's going to be cool with me or someone's going to be toxic or malevolent towards me.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people can, and I've said this too before. People can hide maliciousness behind benevolence.
Mhm.
So you can walk around with your hand out, better to shake my hand, but you got a blade in your bed in the other hand, and I'm not sure, and I can't tell if you're going to can't tell what you're going to do with that because initially you're identifying yourself as a friend, but in reality you're a foe. But my emotional and my mental IFF can't discern that because you came to me with benevolence first. The whole while you got malicious intentions, and by the time that warning goes off in my mind, it's already too late. A missile's already been fired, and that missile has a lock, and now I got to evade.
Yeah.
That's so very true.
I love that analogy of the IFF. I'm definitely gonna have to use that myself. I'm definitely gonna have to use that
I think
because
that's solid. Yeah.
it is. And just the analogy alone, I find that for me, that's how I realized what I was into after I was in it.
Yeah.
Because the package, okay, and I'll use this as an example. I had a previous connection with someone that came off again very benevolent, um, very kind, warm. Um, but within months, it was a totally different person. So when the next connection came, total opposite. Like I felt like I was on guard. Like I was looking for the signs. I was looking for
Hmm.
something. And they didn't show me anything for over a year. I didn't see anything. And then all of a sudden it just came out. And I'm just like, damn, again? Like I thought it was different. Like I thought, the signs looked different. The packaging was different. But even according to that the clip earlier, I had to take a step back and admit to myself, hey, you got a little pattern going on here. Like you're picking the same type of people, or you're entertaining the same type of people. Um, and it's almost like I didn't realize again until I was already knee deep in, excuse my language, I was knee deep in shit before I realized what I was dealing with the whole time. Like we waste so much time because again, we're not, I don't want to say necessarily not confident in ourselves, but there's that little door of doubt somewhere within us, you know, as far as how we view ourselves. And it just allows this spirit to creep right on in
It
and
is.
make themselves at home.
You and I spoke a little bit prior to the show about how much of a psychological of how much of a psychologically based situation this is as far as dealing
Mm-hmm.
with toxicity
Yeah.
and going into looking at that and going into it's human nature to make generalities of things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I call but all human nature isn't on the same level. That's baseline human nature. Advanced human nature is learning how to look at things from a case by case scenario. And that's kind of what we're here to do.
Yeah.
We're here ultimately to get ourselves from baseline human nature to more advanced human nature and then showing the next generation how to take it from there and advance it further. All right. That's essentially like a rule of life, if you ask me. And that also means being able to um using Fred's example, the whole IFF thing, the ship has a frequency. That means there's a knowledge of what a friendly frequency is to
Mm-hmm.
be able to bounce that to other people, to be able to bounce that to other situations, and then and be able to see whether or not it's in alignment or not in alignment. If it's in alignment, cool, okay. And then the step behind that is what's your motive behind showcasing this behavior? Because like you said, or like Fred was saying, a lot of malevolence gets wrapped up as the nucleus behind a lot of benevolence. The narcissist uses benevolence to lower your defenses in order to get you as a supply. The codependent uses benevolence in order to keep you around and keep, feeling like feeling great by virtue of living through you vicariously. The perfectionist
Mm.
the perfectionist looks at, you might seem benevolent as far as asking questions to get to know you, but the motive is, well, let me get information to see where I can poke holes at.
Mm.
So, and the key, because benevolence benevolence from a quote unquote good person or quote unquote, bad person can absolutely look the same. The key is figuring out the motive. I could be benevolent because I enjoy your company.
Right.
And
Right.
because I like having you, because I just like having you around, because I think you're an amazing person. That could be a family member, friend, love interest, coworker, you name it.
Right.
I could also use it to mask me trying to manipulate you into a situation where I can further benefit from you and try and be as covert about it as possible.
Mm.
Mm. You know what? That's a good thing you brought up because you brought up a lot of things with the narcissism, with the codependency, with the perfectionist and things of that nature. These are all types of people or types of situations that can decimate our defenses.
Absolutely.
And we have to be very cognizant about whether it's us or other people that's decimating our defenses.
True.
Hmm.
If it's us, it should now I say this in theory, it should be an easy fix. You should be able to shore up
Should
those
be,
places
in
to
theory,
where
yes.
in theory it should be an easy fix. In
In
theory,
theory.
it
In
should be an
theory.
easy fix. But if it's other people, it becomes a little bit more of a complicated fix because now it becomes a point of what part did you play in this and what did you allow? How much did you allow? And is it actually going to be reparable or not? If
Mm-hmm.
it's not, you're gonna have to jettison it and let it go.
Yeah.
So we got to be aware of whether it's us or somebody else that's destroying our defenses because we put our defenses up for reasons,
Mhm.
whether it's through traumatic experiences, or maybe a bad experience here and there. But we all have defenses. We all have defenses that we put up, and we let those defenses down for people who we perceive that have a
Mhm.
genuine care and genuine love for us. And then when they show otherwise, that completely destroys any defenses that we had in place, or that were in place at the moment. And now we're defenseless, and now we're open to any form of attack from any person. And I don't say that to mean, I don't say that to completely build up a wall. I'm not saying
Mhm.
reinvent the Great Wall of China. I'm not saying reinvent the Great Wall of China. But what I am saying is at least have some form of defenses up to where to where it's going to be at least partway difficult, for not difficult, but at least a challenge for somebody to try to get in, at least initially, until you get to know who that person is, and you know that that person is quote unquote safe. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we got to be aware of whether it's us destroying our defenses or whether somebody else destroying our defenses.
Yeah.
And the sooner we I think the sooner we identify that, I think the quicker we can affect the repair, if a
Mhm.
repair is
True.
possible.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And not even just rebounding back from injury, but also as a preemptive measure, in order to prevent future injuries.
Yeah.
I would definitely say. I have an original quote that I made a couple years ago. It says, "Walls, once they outlive their purpose, become prisons."
Mm.
Mm. All right. So when you find yourself under attack, you have every right to defend yourself. You have every right to, whether it's through, um, utilizing different, conflict resolution skills, whether it's through, finding ways to empathize, which I just had to teach a few people over the last few weeks, being able to being able to understand where somebody's coming from, but not necessarily having to agree with them. All right.
Mm.
Sometimes understanding where somebody's coming from takes all the wind out of the attack.
It does.
Yep.
All right. Sometimes being able to use the redirect, which is like, okay, I know you want to talk about this, but this seems hostile. Can we talk about something? Can we talk about something else? Sometimes being able to use the absolute disconnect, when it becomes more hostile, you're like, going back on my standards in order to protect my peace. I don't wish to engage in this. I don't.
Ooh, boy,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that pisses.
man,
Oh,
look.
ooh. And
Let me tell you something,
if you
man.
continue, I have to stop. I'm gonna have to stop
Yeah.
you.
Man,
All right. Sometimes
and
that
see,
means hanging up, and it's not about being rude.
It's not.
It's not about being rude. It is about your standards and your
Yep.
peace, and how you know you are designed to handle things efficiently. If you know you're not an arguer, do not engage with arguers.
That's it.
was
If you are truly, I am somebody who is truly hardwired for disc for not just discussion, but discourse. That was the word. I love it. I crave it. All right. I love discourse. I can deal with discussion. I can handle debate.
Mm-hmm.
When it starts dipping into arguments and ad hominem attacks, where it's not even about the subject, it's about you as a person and you trying to insult that, I'd be like, okay, that's how you feel. Cool. I'll talk to you later.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to you
and
later.
we have the real understand the rules of engagement
We're
with
not
that.
done. We're not done. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are.
I
Yep.
am.
Yeah.
I am. Because
Yep.
I'm not going there with
Yep.
you. I'll talk to you later. You this, that, and third. Okay.
Okay. I'll be whatever. Cool.
And this, that, and third. And you ain't okay.
All right. Sorry you feel that way.
All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now tell me how you really feel. Yeah? Okay.
I already said
All right.
it.
All right, bye. All right. I'll talk to you when you're lucid again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, I'm like you said, I don't, and see, for me, I don't mind somebody putting a shot over my bow. I don't mind that, because I mean, okay, that's, to me, that's a warning shot.
Right.
So
It
I
is.
don't mind you putting a shot over my bow. I'm cool with that. But the next, but I know the next shot is not to be across my bow.
True.
Oh no, they aiming for
So
the heart of you.
No.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And my rule of engagement has always been with, whether it's with, it's always been, do not fire unless fired upon.
Mm-hmm.
And then in most cases, I don't even return fire. Because I know I got the ammunition, and I know I could decimate your
Ooh,
fleet if I
Yep.
wanted to.
Yep.
ooh,
That's it.
yeah.
I got
That's
the
it.
ammunition, and I
Sometimes
could
not.
decimate your fleet if I wanted to.
Ooh, you
That's
dead
true.
on, man. Sometimes not firing means you're gonna out means you're gonna out weapon them.
Yeah.
Sometimes not firing means you got him outgunned, and you don't want to do that to people.
Yeah,
You absolutely
I,
right, man.
I know I can take you out with one shot,
I can't. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't.
but most times I don't, because guess what? Once I do that, once I return fire with what would the same energy that that person did, or the same word, or match the
What did
same words that they match,
what did
that
we
now there
do?
becomes a conflict that I really didn't want to engage in.
Right.
And it becomes
And now
one that
I got to find a way to disengage from the conflict
it is.
without either myself or the person taking a heavy loss.
Mm.
It turns into one that you are now proliferating.
Yeah. That's true.
Yep.
And that
And I don't want to do that. I'd be like, yeah,
that takes a toll. That takes a toll on some of us that we are not prepared to pay.
yep. Because I'd be thinking like, yeah, I got this 16-inch gun trained on this person, and I could just I could sink their battleship easily. But I'm
I've
not. But
got I've got
I'm taking my hand off the button. Not gonna do it, because I know if I do this, they'll be devastated, and they won't that ship will never sail again.
that's true.
I gotta ask, Fred. Are you a Navy? Are you a Navy man? Because
Yeah, I am.
it's okay. Come on,
I was. I
yeah,
am.
man.
Well, I
This
was
man
and
had
am.
naval
Yeah.
references. Okay, I had to ask because that was like the third or fourth analogy from using naval language. And I was like, okay, let me ask and get it and stop wondering.
Yep.
But yeah, but that's definitely what's up. So yeah, dealing with the toxicity, know what it is for you.
Yeah,
Toxicity is custom.
it is.
It is custom to you for however you are configured. It is counter to however you're configured.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So understand. So really, the first key to navigating yourself or breaking free from toxic connections is understanding yourself well enough to know what does and doesn't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing to cultivate areas that cultivate you, and learning how to mitigate or eliminate areas that don't. So that's definitely the first thing. Unfortunately, for 99% of us, we don't have that level of wisdom,
Yeah,
walking in. We don't always have that level of wisdom, walking into certain situations, especially when we're younger.
yeah,
Yeah.
um and so as we grow in knowledge, not just how in us getting older, because maturity and age are not mutually exclusive, because I know a lot of old fools, and I know a lot of wise young people.
right.
Hmm.
Understanding, taking the time, and you really do have to pay attention to yourself and understand,
Mm-hmm.
how what's the most effective way for you to learn yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In whatever, for me, I ended up asking myself thousands upon thousands of questions after I came out of my massive toxic relationship. I came out not having little to no understanding of who I was as a person, which is what it does to you if you
Yeah,
last long, if you stay in it long.
yeah,
It acts as a slow burning poison,
it is.
and
It is.
it eats away at identity, it eats away at ambition, it eats away at drive. It eats away at your ethics. It eats away at your morals. Um, and you end up left with nothing if you survive it at all. Because some people don't make it out,
That's true. They don't.
and they die in it. So for me, getting out of it and coming back to a safe place, I only had one question, which was who am I? And I had to rebuild that. I had to rebuild, not rebuild it as in rebuilding my identity, because my identity is what it is. I had to rebuild my connection to myself. And that required me asking literally, I'm not even exaggerating, literally thousands upon thousands of questions, the most tedious things that you could imagine.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, everything from why do you like jazz music? Why do you like this type of jazz music? Why do you like spaghetti? Why do you like spaghetti with meat sauce as opposed to spaghetti with Alfredo? Do you have room to like both? And stuff like that. And we could smile and laugh and about hearing questions like that. Why is your favorite color blue? Turns out my favorite color isn't blue, but it's in the blue family, which is why you see a lot of turquoise around here. But I had to learn that. I
Right.
had to reconnect to that. I had to reconnect, and once you reconnect to it, it's a pretty sure thing. Why? Because you got it. It came out of you, or it came out of you connecting to your experiences. And one of the best things I ever learned is being able to look at all of my experiences and go and shift from why is this happening to me to what can I get from this.
Yep. Yep. Because
So that
it's always something in the situation that we have to gain from it.
hmm,
Either it's something about ourselves that we've overlooked and we've never addressed, or it's even something that we have to acknowledge as far as how we accept people into our space.
hmm,
But there's always something that we're going to gain from it if we're open to, embracing that fact.
hmm, that's
But I have a comment here.
yeah.
This is from a gentleman. He says, I have to give background before my question. Currently separated from a former wife, and we will be getting a divorce. The reason for this, I run a successful media company that's still in its grassroots phase of things. So I'm putting maybe 60 to 70 hours, of time devoted to my work. Because of this season of developing a brand, since I wasn't home enough, I started to be in the box of being a deadbeat dad and an absent man.
Ooh. I feel like there's still more that needs to be gathered information wise in order to really effectively touch on that. But
Yeah.
for what's being said here, um, one of the questions I would want to ask is, was the conversation had at the inception of the relationship, or at the inception of knowing that you had a company,
Mhm.
where she was aware of the possibility of you not being home, and if so, was this something that was agreed upon?
Mm.
A lot of what happens in relationships in terms of issues is when something occurs that is not part of the agreed upon aspect. If we're saying, you know ideally, I could imagine if that conversation was had and the wife was understanding, like, I understand you're putting in the work to build the business up, this and third. I understand you're not going to be home so much. I'll take what I can get from you when you are home, so on and so forth. This The likelihood of this being a situation should be mitigated.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or let's say the conversation was had and it was initially agreed upon, and then when it went from theory to practice, the cost wasn't counted up, and she's like, okay, I know I agreed to this, but like, you're really not home.
Mhm.
And ultimately it has to boil down to what it is that you're here to do, because I'm not going to knock purpose, but even in you pursuing purpose, there has to be something of a balance. There has to be something of a balance there. So if you're all about, I'm going to build my life up, and then you include somebody else in the equation, you agreeing to that has to be taken into consideration in the scope of you pursuing your purpose, because now you have this other life that's connected to you,
Right.
Or other lives, because in this case there is a wife and children, because he's talking about being a deadbeat dad and an absent husband. So now you have a wife and children, and there has to be some measure of consideration. So one possible loose, vague solution would be to take some measure of time to reassess your pacing as far as your business, in order to make more room for you being present with your family. That would be one thing. All right. And that's about all I can think of, but just off of what's been offered here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, to Mr. VBS, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being transparent enough to give some of that information. I know there was so much more that you wanted to say to kind of tag into that. So I really do appreciate you doing that. And you know what? That brings to mind, that is something that I think I'm going to incorporate in the show. We had started it or tried to start it a couple of seasons ago, and nobody jumped on it. So hopefully, VBS, you will be one of our first of many. But I am going to come back to our segment called the Heart Check, where we will have people chime in and send their questions or their scenarios to our website, or not our website, I'm sorry, to my email at twinforceproductions@gmail.com. And what we will do, we will discuss them on air. I will see if Chad is available to come back on as one of our professionals.
You pull me whenever you can.
Depending on whatever the situation or question is, I'll make sure that there is a professional on board as well, to be able to add into the panel discussion to address these issues. I mean, because there are a lot of things that people want to talk about or people want to know, and they may not be comfortable, I would say, just opening up in a public forum like this. So I totally understand, and I definitely want to make it discreet for you. So no names will be given, but I definitely want to make sure that your issues are addressed and your questions are answered. That is the purpose of this platform, so that we can be able to inform as well as give feedback to help you to live a healthier life. So with that being said as well, I'm going to do one last sponsor for the evening before we close the show. And then once we come back, we'll have some closing remarks and wrap things up for the night. So again, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has, joined in this evening. We definitely gonna have to do a part 2, Chad.
I'm with it.
Seriously, because there are so many aspects to this conversation alone that we just scratched the surface on. So,
I didn't do half the points on my list of points that I wanted. So no, I don't really have a list. Don't do. But there is more to talk about. So yeah. Definitely. So let's go ahead and see this last sponsor, and we're gonna wrap things up.
The Lotus Vision Inc. is a unique publishing company that offers coaching and publishing services with a focus on healing and empowerment through storytelling. By focusing on the individual needs and goals of each author, we offer a range of services that go beyond traditional publishing. Through our unique approach, our focus is to create a healing experience to help authors bring their stories to life with impact and authenticity. Our mission is to revolutionize the publishing industry by providing authors with a platform to share their stories in a way that resonates, inspires, and heals. We believe in the power of storytelling to create connections to make a positive impact in the world. Are you ready to tell your story? For more information, schedule an appointment or email us at info@thelotusvision.com or visit our social media pages. The Lotus Vision Inc., coaching and publishing company. Finding the beauty in your story.
All right, all right, all right. So, as I said, we are going to have some closing remarks. Fred, I am going to open up the floor to you, sir, so that you can give your closing remarks on this topic of the evening. And I know you're going to make it good. So go right ahead.
So I guess my closing remarks will kind of be more to what Cache said earlier in the chat. What she said is, I keep hearing this term allowing, and I don't believe that's the case. And that's often weaponized. And I want to say to that, Cache, and this is going to be my closing remark. Cache, you're right. You are right. But, and I say this with a heavy but, allowance is something that we all do. And yes, allowance is often weaponized. We all know that. But it is how we respond to the deployment of that thing. In this case, the weaponization of allowance, that should matter. We should always be aware of what's being used against us. And we should always we should try to at least have a countermeasure for it. If we don't have one, then we should develop one. So we have to understand what's being deployed against us and how we are to counter it. So I'm with you all 100% in that, Cache. I am. But in the instance of it's how we respond to what's being put in front of us that should matter.
I'm with that.
And that's my closing statement for right now.
I'm with that. I'm with that. I must agree. I must agree. I know that allowance does absolutely get one, and I kept going back and looking at that comment from Cassie, and I was like, yes, it absolutely does get weaponized. However, that doesn't always mean that allowance is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we spoke back to people's motives and um people's motives and people's intentions and whatnot, and people can use something that is naturally occurring like allowance. All right, and the choice and us having awareness of the whatever level of awareness that we have as far as the choices that we make, and people can absolutely use those to help or hinder us, to help hinder or hurt us. But that doesn't mean that allowance is off the table altogether. I am not at the whim or at the beck and call of any man. I can be persuaded to make some choices. I can be duped into making some stuff if I'm not paying attention, and that's usually what happens. And it is very much a risk assessment. When we're talking about toxicity, one of the root things that deals with toxicity outside of us dealing toxicity to ourselves is in our relation to other people. And when we're talking about dealing with other people, there is this intrinsic level of risk assessment that goes into it. That's really that's another minute that we're talking about. All right, I'm talking finance stuff here now, but there's risk assessment that goes into that. All right, it's what we are looking for versus what we are looking to receive in this hopefully interdependent connection that we have with this other person or other people. And the risk assessment is inherently tied to what is unknown. Nobody walks into any connection with anybody else knowing what's there, knowing everything that's there. That's absolutely impossible. It takes time, and it takes discernment, it takes skill in order to do that. And that's essentially what we're talking about as far as countermeasures to dealing with toxic connections. You need all of those, and those are things that you can consciously cultivate within yourself. The self-awareness is something you can consciously cultivate. Discernment is something that you can consciously cultivate. Learning how to um, better define what your parameters are as far as the risk assessment. These are things that you can consciously cultivate. Uh, while it might not eliminate 100% every instance that you could possibly encounter in terms of dealing with toxic situations or toxic individuals, it certainly does lend towards mitigating it greatly in more cases than not. And I guess that's my final thought.
Well, I have a whole lot to say, I guess, but I wanted to kind of touch on something that you said earlier as far as the difference between nice and kind people, right? And I'm going to admit, y'all, I haven't stepped foot in a church in years, right? And today I decided to go. And I learned something really stuck with me. And it really ties into this conversation as well. Now, I had mentioned earlier, a lot of times we will say to ourselves, well, it's the devil that did this. This is the devil's work. This is the enemy coming at me, and things of that nature. And
Mm-hmm.
to be quite honest, there is some validity in that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, if we really dive deep and look at the term devil or enemy, that's really not the devil's name. His name is Lucifer. But Lucifer means bearer of light or the morning
Mm-hmm.
star, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it from a perspective of he recognizes that light in each and every one of us, right? So they are drawn to what they already know. He's familiar with that. Now, whether or not he operates in that is something totally different. But he's familiar with that. So he's going to be drawn to that light that each and every one of us nice people or kind people carry, right?
Yes.
But it is up to us to be able to decipher whether or not that light is going to be beneficial to us or whether it's going to be detrimental to us. And that's where it ties into nice and kind. I've been a nice person for a really long time. I allowed people to use me as a doormat for a really long time. I've been a people pleaser for a really long time. And now I consider myself a kind person. Why? Because I love myself enough to be able to create healthy boundaries so that I no longer put myself in those situations where I am being mishandled. So those are my closing remarks. But I thought about it and I was like, man, that really ties in to this message today. Like I never really put all of that together, but it just made sense. And I hope that this show helped or blessed someone this evening. But we are definitely going to do a part 2. There's so much more to uncover, and there's so much more to tap into with this conversation. And we want to make sure that each of you, our listening and viewing audience, are equipped if in the event you ever fall victim or come into contact with any of these types of toxic relationships. So, with that being said, again, I want to thank Chad. Once again, I want to thank you for just coming in. You're just like Fred. You two, like, hey, and whenever I call, you two are there, like the brigade. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the camaraderie that we all have. And it's just a beautiful thing. So I'm looking forward to our continued connections. And Fred, thank you so much again for coming in the clutch. Special thanks again to Trailblazer Radio as well as LHG show. I can't remember the name that quick. Dang.
Critical Conversations.
Yes,
Critical Conversations.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, LHG. But you two are basically like my my mentors in this whole thing. So I just want to thank you guys so much for paving the way for other podcasters to do what we do and to get the message out to so many people. So thank you so much again.
Absolutely.
Oh, pleasure's all. Pleasure's all. Look, look. I don't got words to say because I mean, I feel honored to even be in this space and in your presence right now, especially with Mr. Chad too, because yeah, man, I'm gonna have to have you come on our platform too, because there's some stuff, there's some things
Get me out there. Get me out there. I can talk. I can talk. I'm trying to tell y'all. Like I can talk and not just talk for nothing. Hopefully, if you're not careful, you learn something.
Exactly.
Man, listen, sis, make sure I got his information so because look, I definitely have a couple of ideas I want to pass by him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's chop it up and see what's what.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you guys so much again. We are about to close out the show with one more commercial, and then we are going to roll the credits. But to each and every one of you, thank you again for being a part of Shaking Up the Algorithms. We will see you again next week. We are doing another heavy hitter show. You definitely want to be here. For those of you who may feel like you're in a situation where you're in a drought or you just don't know how to bring forth abundance to your life, joy to your life, we're going to have a young lady on who is a manifestation strategist. And she is going to be coming on, showing us and giving us some tidbits on how to bring forth wealth and abundance and joy and happiness into your life. So you definitely don't want to miss next week's show. So thank you all so much again for being here, and we will see you again next week.
Does your business need more visibility? Need more affordable marketing platforms? Don't let your foundation crumble. Advertise with us, Shaking Up the Algorithms, where we shift your marketing one show at a time. We have package prices starting as low as $25. Contact us for more details via email, twinforceproductions@gmail.com. Find us on our social media page. Special thanks to this week's sponsors. Tune in for our next video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you won't miss out on any future episodes.